Hey everyone, as promised, I am making another video. This time I wanted to share my altered book journal. This is just a book that I got at a used bookstore for less than $5. I can't remember. It's not an old book actually. It's by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's called The Signature of All Things, and I just like the cover, the color of it, and I like the way the pages look kind of old. See how they're just I just like the way they look. I like that they're cream. And I did remove a lot of the pages to begin with, a lot more than this. I just removed two to three pages at a time every now and then because I knew this book was going to get really thick, and it's starting to get thick. You can see right there. So, so I covered the title with a Project Life card and just glued down some ephemera. And one thing I like about this book is it has these beautiful flora, fauna images. And there's some black and white ones in here too. So I haven't done anything with this. I might still cover it. But on this page, there's a really nice quote. It says, "What life is, we know not. What life does, we know well." And I like that. So I wanted to highlight that. And I painted a flower on this side. And then I bought a book that has a bunch of bird illustrations in it, and so I cut that out, and then this happened to be black and white, and I just colored it to match this side a little bit. So since this is my book, I decided to include myself in it in the beginning because I think as moms sometimes we often neglect putting ourselves in our stories and our memory books. So I did that. This is a photo I happened to put on Instagram. And then I just put this sticker, "Bloom Where You're Planted," and a doily. I love doilies. I love how feminine they are. I use them often. And instead of just pasting this picture on the page, I thought it would look nice against a really bright floral backdrop. So this is the table of contents, and I thought it was interesting. It says like the Tree of Fever, so I changed that to Tree of Life. The Plum of White Acre, I just changed it to Plum Crazy. Part 3, the disturbance of, instead of messages, I said the disturbance of 3-year-olds. Part 4, the consequence of being sleep deprived. And Part 5, the curator of messes. I just thought it would be fun to change all the chapter titles. So on this page, I happen to have, this is from a Target gift bag. I believe it was like one of the dollar spot things. So I've been saving it. I love macaroons. I just think it's a cute image. So I wrote down about how I'm avoiding sweets right now. And then I used some gelatos in the background just to give it a little bit of color. But, you know, it doesn't need a whole lot. And then I just talked about tonight we went to Brewster's and I didn't get any ice cream. Feeling motivated. So, this I actually just did. I went back. I had left the pages blank because I knew I wanted to do partly, not an introduction, but I think these are fun to remember what you're currently into. And so I wrote what I'm watching, what I'm eating, what I'm creating. I'm just in a creative mode right now. I have to admit, I'm focusing a lot on my art journaling and mixed media painting, trying new techniques, being okay with messy, all of that. And then I wrote down what I'm working on, like running 3 times a week, eating clean, getting more sleep, being less distracted by social media, and being calm amidst chaos. I have 2 little kids, so as if you're a mom, you know that involves a fair amount of chaos. And I just stuck these tags on here. I glued them on, but not before. I put down some scrapbook paper, and then I used gelatos to give it just a little bit of color. The other thing I had to be careful of is, if I use wet media, meaning if I use paint, I glue pages together. But if I don't, then you have to be careful of what's on the other side, you know, not to. So that's why these gelatos are perfect. These are like, they're kind of like wax pastels, and you can also mix water with them and it looks more like paint, but you can also just rub it on your finger and rub it on the page, and that's what I use for this. So, so this is some of the pretty black and white drawings that are in here. This spread, I wanted to remember my 3-year-old, how dirty he gets sometimes. It's hard to see, but I don't know if you can see, but he is so dirty. His face is totally brown because, so we go to his brother's baseball games all the time, and he has nothing to do. So he brings trucks, and he just plays while while the big boys are on the field. And he met another fellow 3-year-old, and they are like fast friends. And I thought it was so cute. And this I happen to have, it came in my Flow magazine calendar. I had a daily calendar last year. So I'm so glad I kept it because there's some great quotes and pretty pictures. And I thought it would be perfect with this picture. So the other thing I did is I used gelatos on this as well. And I think a little bit of watercolor. And then I had a stamp, this stamp. It just reminds me of like footprints or tracks, so I thought it would be perfect for this page. So I carried it over to here a little bit, put some washi down, and just a tiny bit of journaling. Landon made a new friend at baseball. I mean, if I want to do in-depth journaling, I wouldn't do it in here, but and sometimes it can be a challenge to think, how do I journal when there's already words on a page? So I can show you how I got around that. So now it's with spring baseball. We're at the baseball field all the time. This is my 8-year-old, and I added this to journal. So I made this kind of like a pocket where you could pull it out. But I also wrote on the edge of the page, 8 is great, Evan is really enjoying baseball, and I wrote all the way around. So it's kind of fun. And then I just doodled a frame around the picture for emphasis. So this spread is this is from the Flow magazine calendar. Like I said, they have such beautiful images and quotes. And so I'll be using that hopefully a lot in this journal. So I glued it on this side, and then I carried the pattern over. I just continued the pattern. So it looks like, it's part of the page almost. And then I wanted to do it on this side as well. Now this lady, I actually did this in another book, and then I cut her out. I didn't know how I was going to use these, but I've been experimenting with drawing ladies' faces. Most of the time I've always doodled them, but this time I thought, let me start trying to doodle some real ladies' faces. And I painted her hair with purple watercolor to blend in with this side. So, and then I just wrote down some quotes that empowering quotes. It says, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. The things you're passionate about are not random. They are your calling. Share your soul with the world. So I love that. And then I use my watercolor brush, my aqua brush, to shadow around her face in blue. Sometimes I like doing things unexpected. I think it's, just for me at least, I think art, really, it's fun to just use your imagination and add colors and do things that you may not see in real life. So this is my sister-in-law. She got remarried. Actually, it was January 1st, so it wasn't spring. But at this point, I decided I'm okay with just putting photos down, even if there's no, even if this isn't in order. Because the idea is I just want to put the photos, I want to get my photos in there, the photos that evoke emotion and make me happy. So I thought this was beautiful, and I didn't want to just put it in a random album. So I just wrote, I found the one whom my soul loves on this side. And then I put some big ephemera that I'd been holding on to and I didn't know what to use it for. I normally do not like chipboard because I usually don't like pieces that pop up. This is a little bit thicker. I don't know if you can see. So, but I had kept it, and I was like, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to use it with a little gold washi. So that worked. So this is a spread. I went to I volunteered and chaperoned my son's 3rd grade field trip. So we went to the Natural History Museum in DC. I feel blessed because it's right in our backyard, and it's an amazing, amazing museum. I say right in our backyard. I mean, we're in the suburbs in Maryland, so we had to take the metro to get there. Picture of my son and I, and this is just some of the fun stuff we did. This is actually, believe it or not, my son goes to such a small school that this is the 2nd and 3rd grade class together. And we didn't even need a bus to get to the metro station. I think we had 4 cars, and we packed all the kids in. Some of the people have like SUVs and stuff, so that worked out. And this is my son with some of his friends. This is them looking at some bugs. And then I just watercolored around the edges, and I also journaled. I think I started it over here. I just wrote, what's amazing is our school is so small, we didn't even need to charter a bus. So yeah, I wrote about that and just how we took the metro and we had a good time. So, and then I also watercolored around the photos and used some black magic marker to give it some dimension. Excuse me. So this photo is just from the playground, and at first I wrote adventure directly on the page, and I didn't think it stood out that well. Plus the stickers, it didn't look good. So I decided to gesso the page a little bit, and then I put some white paint, and it definitely stands out better. And I also used these like crayons that I got at Target. They're kind of like watercolor crayons I got at Target. They were inexpensive. The colors are a bit, I would say, not my norm. They're so bright and a little bit garish, but I thought it works because we have this big green caterpillar thing. The boys are wearing blue, and plus it's a spread about kids. So, so it's just fun to try new things. All right. So here we go. And then here's a spread about Global Fest, which is it's a festival at my children's school. It's their biggest fundraiser. And what they do is all the kids represent a country. Every grade represents a country, and they do a performance, and then we transform the classes. And it's an educational thing too. We have decorations from that country, and you can learn about it. And we also serve food from that country. So this year, my son's class was representing Ivory Coast. So the classroom was transformed to look like Africa. And I loved all the beautiful, their costumes and the rugs and all of the fabric, the textiles. So inspired by that, I decided to paint that on the page first. I used black thick magic marker to kind of emphasize. I mean, it's not perfect, but I think it works with these photos. And I like that in books, you can get a lot of photos in here, with, you're not limited. And then this is my other son, my 3-year-old. He's in the pre-K class, and I wanted to remember just about how I wrote, he's going with the program. I was so proud watching him perform on stage with the other pre-K kids. He's finally feeling comfortable at school and letting his real personality come out. He's 3, so in the beginning of the year, he would never smile. Like he was just kind of nervous at school, but now he's like effortlessly smiling with his friends. He's laughing, and this is them on the stage. So I'm trying to keep this simple. I know maybe people may not realize that it's actually pretty simple to memory keep like this, but so this is, my son is learning handwriting. He's learning cursive in school. I know a lot of kids don't learn it nowadays, but I just love that not only is he learning it, but he's doing pretty good. I mean, he's 8, and so the teacher sent this home. It just is very nice, and I wanted to, at first I thought about cutting out the words, but then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put the entire thing in here, put some washi tape, put some stickers, and then I wrote, you rock. I mean, I had this sticker. I wrote, Evan's cursive writing is getting so good. I'm so glad they're teaching cursive at his school. So, this is a spread when we went to the National Zoo. The day after the Global Fest, they closed down the school so they can, change it back to the classrooms. And so we went to the zoo on a Monday, the National Zoo, and it was perfect. The weather was perfect. There were no crowds. So I happened to have this giraffe ephemera that I'd kept for some time, and I didn't know what I was going to use it for. So I finally got to dig this thing out and use it. It's perfect because it's really large, and in a book it totally fits. And then I felt like, okay, now we need grass, and then we need a tree. And then I just use my watercolor aqua brush again to just add a little bit of color on the pages. If I do something on one side, I like to add it to the other side so it's a bit more cohesive. So I did clouds on this side. I added some clouds on this side. And, you know, so I added it. I used like purpley fuchsia paint a little bit, the watercolor, added it to the trees, added it to the giraffe. Again, it doesn't matter that these things, you know, don't exist in real life, but it's still a lot of fun. And then I did some journaling at the bottom of the page. So this spread, speaking of like just, you know, not doing things in order, this is a picture of me when I was pregnant. I thought I had another 5 weeks before I was giving birth, but it turns out I gave birth 5 days later after this photo was taken. So what I did first was I put I put the paint on. I gessoed the page and then put blue paint, yellow paint, pink paint on. And then while the paint was still wet, I have a stencil, a cloud stencil, and I got a baby wipe and I basically wiped off the paint, which is why you can still see the words. So that was kind of fun. And then I did grass again. And I love these stamps. I think this is so pretty. And I kind of like that they're so big next to me. I mean, obviously that wouldn't, there's not, you won't find these kind of flowers in real life this big, but I thought it added some whimsy. And I cut myself out, the outline of me. And that's something fun that you could do. You know, I could have easily put a square photo here, but I thought it was fun to do against this background. And I just wrote about how I didn't realize I'd be giving birth 5 days later. We were at Dutch Wonderland, an amusement park in Pennsylvania. And I just talked about how I loved being pregnant. I was round and comfortable, but I also felt beautiful and strong. So I wanted to write about that. And on this page, I had this photo that just makes me super happy. So this is my bestie, Kat, Boho Paper Cottage. A lot of you know her. And we have known each other for a while now. I would say maybe 8 years, maybe. And but we were in the same mom's club where we live. And so we would run into each other a fair amount of times. And you know, but we never connected. I guess we didn't realize how much we had in common, but we, you know, so in my younger son's baby book, I wrote just another pregnant mama. Like I didn't even write her name in there because she was just, you know, a random friend, an acquaintance. So I wrote, hard to believe, but not even 4 years ago, Kat was just another pregnant mama. And now, I mean, once our sons were born, they were born 12 hours apart. So we were in the same play group. We started hanging out and we quickly became besties. And so this was sweet. I was on Periscope and I was doing this on Periscope and I was trying to think of like a title or something to hand letter. And someone said, what about Blooming Buds? Excuse me. So I thought, how perfect, Blooming Buds, because that's what we were. We were just... yeah, it's like we were planting the seeds. And so I just think this photo is precious to me because, you know, it was the beginning of, you know, a real deep friendship. So that's it. I haven't done any more than that. But again, for this book, someone was asking me the difference between, shoot, I don't have one of my scrappy journals, at my completed one, but this is my other one that I was showing in another video. This is like one that fits in your traveler's notebook. And what do I put in that versus this? And basically, I like to put photos that are really meaningful to me in this, or photos, you know, photos that I want to kind of dress up a bit more artistically, I would put in this. Also, any photos that are pretty large, I think it's easier to put in this book, you know, so you don't have to resize. And then finally, if I have like a lot of photos, I like to put them in here because, you know, you just have more room to show a spread. So I hope this, you know, if you're interested in this kind of memory keeping, I hope this gives you some ideas. I'm really enjoying kind of doing things out of the box. I did Project Life, as I mentioned in my other video. I did it for many years, and I enjoyed it. I did, but I am finding not having plastic page protectors. I find it very freeing, and it just feels more me. I think that's the best way to describe it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hope to see you soon. And feel free to comment or ask questions, and I'll try to answer, if I get the notification. So thanks again. Bye-bye.